The Gwaltney Group.
The following is a sponsored program paid for by Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning, Andy Brownell, Saturday morning. This is where we normally get together and chat with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results about real estate here in southeastern Minnesota. Robin, unavailable to be with us this morning, but very happy to welcome to the program again, Zach Pagel with Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results, a member of Robin's team. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning, Andy. Happy to be joining.
I'm happy to have you back. I know before we got to the microphones, and I know from talking to Robin that one of the areas that you like to work in is investment real estate. And
absolutely,
from, I guess, a layman's perspective, a lot of folks look at it and it seems, I don't know, daunting or impossible to think that you could become a person investing in real estate. But that's really not the case, right? You don't have to have millions of dollars to get into this.
You do not, and that is a common misconception out there, especially in Rochester. You know, you drive around and it feels like there's 4 or 5 folks who own half the real estate within the community, which there are certainly some large owners of property here, but they did all start from a small place, just as anyone listening to this show can as well, and a number of different routes where you can really get started in real estate investing. So happy to talk through those some more here today. All
right. Well, I guess we won't look at buying high-rise apartment buildings right away as a pathway to get into this. What are some of the ways that folks can consider if they want to jump in and maybe test the waters?
Sure. So one of the easiest ways to really enter real estate investing and dip one's toes is through renting out space within their personal home. It's not something a lot of people have at the front of their mind, but it is a really attractive opportunity, especially here in Rochester. When we think of the composition of who's living here and moving here, a lot of it is transient residents. So you think of the clinic, they might have someone coming through like a travel nurse where they're here for, say, 3 to 6 months. They don't really want to sign that year-long lease, have to move here, purchase furniture in an unfurnished place, and having an option where they can just have somewhere that, a few days out from signing that lease, they can move right into, have a comfortable place to stay while they're in our community, is something that they seek out and something they're willing to pay a premium for as well. We do see folks here, especially first-time home buyers within the community, purchase a 3 or 4 bedroom house that's maybe a little bit larger than what they'd be looking for to live in on their own, but rent 2 or 3 of those bedrooms out and come pretty close to covering their entire mortgage payment. So really living at the property themselves for free.
Sweet.
Yeah, especially if you're a social person. It's a great way to meet others too, and even develop some friendships perhaps.
I've known folks who've done this who a little later in life, it's after the kids flew the coop, and all of a sudden they have this extra space. And in a couple cases, they had converted basement space by installing a kitchen.
Absolutely, and that is a common way to do it here in Rochester. Not every part of the country does have basements, but most homes here do. A lot of them, due to our topography here as well, are walkout basements. So it is possible in many homes to have that entire separate entrance where you do have that living space for someone else, but don't even have to cross paths a ton if that's not what your desire is.
I love the idea that you could, cover your mortgage payment with income off of the property. I guess that's the whole idea of investment real estate, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really just, letting that equity build in the home while covering that payment as well. So, every month you make that mortgage payment, you have some principal coming off. the value of your home is rising on its own, hopefully, in that same time too. And once you knock away the number of years, it's really surprising the amount of wealth that can be created for folks by doing something as simple as that.
The other thing I've seen, this is just among my circle of peers, is the Airbnb option. And some of these are long-term Airbnbs, especially in the Rochester community, where you have people who are coming here for treatment and who are here for 6 months.
You're exactly right on that. And when we think about the folks coming here for care, it does get really hard, even if you're here for a matter of a couple of weeks, to be confined to a hotel room, not have your own kitchen or refrigerator or anything like that to prepare your own food and feel that comfort of home. So there are a lot of families that do seek out those Airbnb options. It's not just right next to the clinic either. It's all across town. Rochester, with where the clinic is located, does have pretty easy access no matter what direction we're looking. So families come and they do often end up extending those stays, or if they find the right Airbnb too and are coming back here for regular care, might be another 3 months before they're booking another stay. But when they do find that place they like, it does become a regular booking for them.
Are there any other options for the novice to consider if you were thinking about investment property?
Sure. Another popular one that is often overlooked would be what's called a house hacking. So that's buying, say, a duplex or a triplex or quadplex, all properties where you can still qualify for conventional mortgage programs, as well as some of the mortgage programs that are commonly used by first-time home buyers, such as the FHA loan. So you can, as long as you qualify to purchase a property for that price, purchase the home, have a completely separate unit or multiple units that you're renting out. And just like the other scenarios we talked about, it does often almost completely wipe away the mortgage payment for the property itself. So someone who does this is building up that equity, not really having a ton of cash that they're having to spend in the meantime. Cool part with this too versus a single family home and renting some rooms out is that once you do it for, say, a couple of years, have that rental history with different tenants, you can keep that property, move out of the unit that you were occupying, and start to build that investment portfolio. And the mortgage that you hold on that property will not count against you when you're going to purchase either another investment property or a home, as long as the lender sees that rental history and that there's not a risk that income won't be there, if that makes sense.
Oh, wow. How long of a process is that before the lender is confident of your rental history that they're willing to extend another mortgage?
Sure. So usually most lenders would want to see around a 2-year rental history.
Okay.
So not long at all.
And I imagine if you're able to charge a competitive rental fee in this community, you're going to be able to find quality renters fairly easily.
Correct. And a lot of those renters are long-term renters as well that do renew those leases, and a very good tenant base to choose from.
All right. We're talking with Zach Pagel in for Robin Gwaltney this week with Gwaltney Group-RE results, and we're diving into investment property, investment real estate. Fascinating topic. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back here at News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9. To Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back, everyone. Zach Pagel with Gwaltney Group-RE results with us this morning while Robin is quote-unquote on assignment. Hopefully she's having fun and it's not work-related, but knowing Robin, it's probably work-related. But we've been diving into investment real estate. And I haven't talked about this for a long time with Robin. And I thank you, Zach, for stepping in and providing all this information. One aspect of this, and I once again, I've, I guess, been on the planet long enough that I know folks who have gone down this path, and they've started out really small, doing the duplex thing. In fact, I know a couple people have done this, and now they actually own multiple properties throughout the city. And, you know, they're not big, giant apartment complex, but they're enough that, let's put it this way, when they retire, they're going to retire very comfortably due to the income from all these properties. And I imagine that that's the dream of some folks, a lot of folks, right? Maybe, Zach, you could talk to us how that works. How does that happen? How can you do it without, you know, as you mentioned, a ton of cash up front? You just go in and buy something. You can, you know, build it slowly.
Sure. So as we did touch upon before, once there is a rental history within that first property that an investor has invested into, they can move out of that property and typically approach another purchase without any of that mortgage from the first one being counted against them. So let's take an example where someone moved into that first investment property, say bought a duplex, has lived there for 3-4 years, is really hoping to move on to something bigger or in a different part of town. As we talked about, they will have some equity that they've built up in that property. So what a lot of folks do to acquire that next property in the portfolio is to obtain a home equity line of credit against that original property. So borrow against that equity they've built up.
Sure.
And that allows them to have a down payment for the next property, which is really beneficial for them. And, you know, means that if they still had hopes of acquiring other property, they don't have to spend the cash that they've saved up from the rental payments across that time, that they can access that down payment just from the equity that's within that original property. So something really attractive there. If someone is looking to expand beyond that 1 to 2 property range, there are a lot of lenders that will start to lend on a portfolio basis as well. So borrowing against the collective equity of that portfolio and allowing that investor to acquire more properties as they see fit. This is attractive because a lot of the best investment opportunities don't necessarily come at the time that you're expecting them to. And when they do arise, they do go quickly. That is something within the Gwaltney Group we're really passionate about with investors that we work with, is accessing a lot of those off-market investment opportunities, making our investors aware of it. And when they're lined up with the right lending partners, as we talked about here, they're able to close quickly on those new investments and at a great price as well.
So what you're telling me too, Zach, is that especially in the duplex arrangement, what'd you call it, house hacking?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. These real estate terms, right?
Exactly.
I go in there with my down payment that I would likely have to pay just to own my home anyway. I could have my mortgage payments covered by my renters. And then I tap into the equity that was created by them paying off my mortgage and the increase in the valuation of the property to do the same thing at another property.
You're absolutely right. And one thing, too, within Rochester that's unique, a lot of investment properties, if they are closer to that downtown core and the clinic, it's not just the rental income from those units that you can tap into, but say you're somewhere in the neighborhood around St. Mary's, there are properties where owners can tap into sizable income from renting out parking spaces as well.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And not a ton of parking downtown.
Okay, and the other aspect of this, from the person who may look at this as a daunting enterprise, being the landlord, does owning this property and being, you know, I guess landlord is the right term. Is there a way I can, I guess, avoid all the work and the hassle that's associated with being the landlord?
There is a way that you can avoid a lot of it, yes. And that's through hiring a third-party property manager. So they will take a portion of the rental income every month, but in exchange for that, you can really have them do as much or as little as you're looking for. So if you don't want to get those listings online once you do have something for rent, or screen applicants, figure out if they're qualified, a third-party property manager can do that. Similarly, they can work if there's any sort of maintenance issues within the property that you own. You know, a sink is leaking or an HVAC needs to be fixed, etc. You can have someone that is the primary contact to handle all those matters, so that your only role in that investment property is just to collect that revenue every month.
Is that something you help with, Zach, planning that all out? I mean, you sit down with an investor and, this is how much money I have to lay out to start this process. How much can I charge in rent in order to cover all of the costs associated with it? The property manager, the maintenance issues that might arise, shoveling snow, I guess.
It is something we certainly consult on. Within the Gwaltney Group, we do have many of our members that own investment properties themselves, so know what the true numbers are there, what the true responsibilities are, the positives and negatives of different properties, and the pricing involved as well. We do have a number of folks within our group, too, that operate Airbnbs, so are experienced in how to get up and running on those platforms, get bookings at the highest rate and highest price possible, and build up the positive reviews that are needed on that platform to really be at the top of the list when someone is searching for an Airbnb in Rochester.
All right, before we have to take another break, is there anything else we should know that you can pass on as far as your experience and knowledge about investment real estate, and perhaps somebody listening is, pondering, considering doing this? Is there anything out there that we should know about that we haven't talked about yet?
Sure. I would just say generally that it is a great time to look into investment real estate within Rochester. The way that the community is structured, there is, room to expand on its outsides, but that central core that's really closest to the main employer is largely built out. And with a $4+ billion investment coming within the clinic across the next decade here, the demand for rental properties is going to continue to increase. So getting in now and exploring those opportunities should really pay off well for anyone doing so.
Okay, great. We'll take a quick break, and we'll continue on in a few moments with Zach Pagel with Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group, RE/MAX Results, and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
It's Saturday morning, News Talk 1340 KROC AM 96.9 FM. We're talking Rochester area real estate, southeastern Minnesota, with Zach Pagel from the Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results team. Robin is unavailable this weekend. And one of the things Robin regularly does, Zach, is provide an update on what's actually happening in the community as far as real estate. Is that something you can help us out with today?
I sure can, yes. So the market is continuing to pick up some steam here, as it has been discussed on some of the prior shows here. There were a lot of folks sitting on the sidelines really waiting to see what happened with the election and if there'd be any associated large changes with either interest rates or home prices. And we are not really seeing any changes with either. But sometimes folks just having that answer is really what it takes to get them off the sidelines and back into the market. So as we have come into the weekend here, we have started seeing buyer activity pick up at a pretty considerable clip, especially in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. And when we look at all price ranges across Rochester, that really is the sweet spot of where we're seeing the most activity right now, and the least amount of available inventory as a result. A lot of that is composed of first-time home buyers, so very competitive, and makes it vital to be working with a team who can get ahead of opportunities before they hit the market and position buyers when they're in multiple offer situations to really emerge on top.
We're heading into that period of time in the year where, historically there's kind of a lull because of the holidays. But with what's happening out there, do you think that's going to be the case this year, or is it going to continue to cruise on? There's people who have been waiting on the sidelines for so long. I imagine that there's a little bit of a pent-up demand.
I do think you're exactly right there, that it will continue to cruise on. Obviously, this time of year is going to be a bit slower than the spring just because there's not as much inventory out there. But what we're seeing both from the sellers that have homes on the market right now, as well as the buyers that are in the market, is that both are extremely motivated. From a buyer perspective, folks who are looking right now do know, for the most part, that the spring market is going to be extremely competitive. So they're looking to get ahead of that, not have to compete against as many buyers. It does allow them to take a bit more time in the homes they're choosing as well. It's not where a property is being listed on a Thursday and you're forced to make an offer on a Friday, or you're going to miss out on the property. You might have that weekend to think about it and really not feel rushed into a decision, which is really helpful for a lot of folks.
Yeah, the stress of that is that was the market that my son was buying in back during the pandemic. And yeah, it was nerve-wracking, to say the very least.
It absolutely is. And I think it is great, too, when the market is more balanced like it is now, that you can also ask for things that during those busy times like you talked about were not as readily able to be included in an offer. The largest one being an inspection contingency. So most offers right now, buyers are able to get that home inspection and have that peace of mind that the property they're buying is a sound investment with nothing that immediately needs to be fixed, which is great to see.
So, Zach, when you're out there meeting with potential buyers, psychology plays so much of a role in economic decisions. Do you think it's finally, that we're finally getting over the phase where people have some sort of expectation of going back to 3% rates, that they're actually accepting that, a 5 to 6% rate is the way it's going to be? And actually, historically, because Robin and I have talked about this so many times, historically, that's actually a pretty good rate.
It absolutely is. That's a great question. I do think a lot of people are seeing that the rates are not going to have any drastic movement in the near to mid future. What they're also seeing, though, too, that plays into it is that there's not a drastic increase in supply that is here right now or coming anytime soon. So when you couple those things together, you see an environment where home prices should continue to increase. And that does make some people reach the determination that, hey, if I believe that Rochester is a place I want to be for the next at least 3 years, I should put down roots and invest into a home.
In my view, it's always a good move.
Absolutely.
Well, Zach, if somebody wants to talk to you about the things that we've been talking about today, especially the investment real estate aspect of it, how do they reach out to you? And, I guess, how do they get started?
Sure. So be happy to chat however is easiest for them. They can call or text at 715-573-4872. They can also reach me by email at Zach, Z-A-C-H, at GwaltneyGroup.com.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and being with us on the program today and with all your information about investment real estate in the local market, Zach.
Thanks so much, Andy. Look forward to joining again soon.
I do too. It's been great. Zach Pagel with Gwaltney Group, RE/MAX Results. We'll be back with Robin next week right here on Newstalk 1340, KROC AM and 96.